Hello everyone, what's going on? It's Sal, Stretford Post. How you all doing? And welcome to another episode of Breaking Dawn. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone's doing fine on this, Wednesday afternoon, guys. Losing track of time, ain't we? Losing track of time. But one thing we're not losing track of is how long we got on this transfer window, because this transfer window, it is ticking along, isn't it? It is ticking along. It is literally the 30th of July today, guys. And we are hitting August. And we all know what August is. It's Premier League month. We start the Premier League campaign only under 3 weeks, guys. We are going to be playing Arsenal in the first game of the season. You know what? We need to get a step on. We need to get a move on in regards to this transfer window, guys. It's imperative Man United start the season on fire, basically, because we don't want... Look, you know what can happen, isn't it? Football's very, very big on confidence. And if we go into that Arsenal game and we get absolutely smashed up, it's not going to do very well for us. It's not going to bode well for the rest of the season, is it, at the end of the day? So what we need a boost at the first game of the season to beat Arsenal. But how are we going to do that? We need the full team, don't we? We need a squad. We need a striker. We need a goalkeeper. I'm not going to get into that very, very soon, guys. But guys, please don't forget, if I can ask one thing, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and smash a like on the video if you guys can do that for me. That'd be absolutely fantastic. You great, lovely people, of course, and all that squishy stuff. Thank you so much, guys. Now, let's get straight into it. Guys, there was rumors circulating around the airways about a goalkeeper yesterday, and not the goalkeeper that you would have thought, not the goalkeeper that we've been talking about, but his name is Nick Pope. Now, look, I find this very interesting because Nick Pope has a year left on his contract, obviously an England international, very capable goalkeeper, plays for Newcastle United. Now, look, I mean, he's not the first goalkeeper that came to mind when we were talking about what goalkeepers we're going to sign. Is it going to be Senny the Mans? Is it going to be Donnarumma? Is it going to be Emi Martinez? Well, the Charlton Athletic youth goalkeeper of Pope, of course, he came from Charlton Athletic, guys, has been linked to Manchester United. Now, look, this is interesting because his value is around 8 million euros. 8 million euros is not going to break the bank. Now, I want to ask you guys the question. Would you sacrifice a goalkeeper like Pope, for example, bring in a goalkeeper like Pope for a midfielder and a striker? Would you do that? Because obviously, Nick Pope is going to be an upgrade to Onana. So would you sacrifice not having a Donnarumma or not having a Lemens, not having an Emi Martinez for having a Nick Pope? He's got 1 year left on his contract, 8 million euros. Would you sacrifice that? I do know that his highest market value is around 20 million. He can go up to 20 million. But we could possibly get him for about, 8 to 15 million euros. So I think that would be a shrewd, smart signing, in my opinion. I don't know what you think about that, but we would save money on the goalkeeper. And then we would have more room to maneuver in regards to a midfielder and a striker. Not many people mention Pope, but he's a competent goalkeeper. He's not a clown. He's not going to make mistakes and stuff like that. He's an international goalkeeper. Burnley and Leeds United are heavily interested in Pope, as they would be. Leeds United in particular are the most likely to force competition for whoever wants to sign Nick Pope, of course, guys. But Manchester United are looking at alternative options. Now, my biggest concern, I would say, is what I said yesterday, is that what is going to happen with Onana? Because Onana is a first-team goalkeeper. He's a number one goalkeeper. And I don't feel that Onana's going to want to sit on the bench. That's all well and good, right? But it's not about Onana. It's about Ineos. It's about how Jim Ratcliffe, Vavell and Wilcox and Berardi feel, about having an asset like Berardi on the bench, like, a guy who's worth 25 million, of course, guys. We do know that James Trafford, who has been linked with Manchester United, has gone to Manchester City for 27 million, guys. It's unreal, isn't it, at the end of the day, when you think about it? We have to sell Onana for 28 million to comply with FFP and PSR. Now, look, guys, what I would say is that Man United had to be ruthless in this window. We have to be ruthless. We shouldn't be bowing down to the needs of players. And unfortunately, we have to. Even though we shouldn't, we have to, because these players are contracted to Manchester United and they're contractually obliged to play for Manchester United and to honour the contract that they've given to these players. And, with Onana, we can't say nothing about it. All I would say is that, and I said it statistically, Onana is our worst goalkeeper in our history. Now, I wrote a tweet yesterday, and this is no effect. This is absolute facts, guys. I'm only dealing with facts here, okay, guys? That's what I'm dealing with, right? I wrote a tweet yesterday about Mr. Onana. Based on Premier League stats for Manchester United, goalkeepers with 20-plus appearances, Andre Onana ranks as the worst. 72 games, 102 goals conceded, 1.2 per game, worst ratio ever. 9 errors leading to goals, most since 2003, and 26% clean sheets, which is the lowest. Short-term flops like Massimo Taibi were 4 games, 12 conceded, were worse, but had much fewer games. Now, obviously, you have to take that very seriously, because obviously a much fewer games ratio, you can't really judge that, because you can concede 7 in one game. But the thing is that 4 games for Taibi, 12 goals conceded, which he didn't have a good start. But in all fairness, Massimo Taibi, it was that mistake against Southampton, wasn't it? The Magnetizier one that went under his arms and stuff, and everyone, obviously writ him off. Obviously, the game against Liverpool, where I think we lost 3-2, and he conceded some dodgy goals, of course, guys, at Anfield, and that was it. But Taibi was obviously a one-off, a goalkeeper that didn't play for Man United many games. 4 games he played for Manchester United, but as a whole, on players that have played 20-plus appearances for Man United, Andre Onana is the worst goalkeeper in Manchester United's Premier League history, guys. Premier League history. Is officially the worst goalkeeper in Premier League history. And they're the facts, don't lie. Of course, guys. How you all doing? Hope you're all doing well. Big up John O'Connell. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Hope you're good. Sesko to Newcastle, then hope not. Watkins would be a great, but in 3 years, we would need to spend another 70 million on a new striker. That's why Sesko's worth it. I agree with you, John, because we have to think about sell-on value as well. And 29, 30 years old, 60 million for him is too much. If we were going to pay 40-odd million for Ollie Watkins, it would be a lot better. Obviously, it would be a lot more enticing, a lot more attractive to Manchester United. Right? But 60-odd million for him, the same price as Sesko, basically. Sesko's a no-brainer, in my opinion. It has to be that, because at the end of the day, Sesko could play for Manchester United for 6-7 years. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, and I would go for that transfer. Just do that transfer, but this could be a smart maneuver in regards to Wilcox and Barada, etc. This could be smart maneuver. I mean, it's very rare they do smart things, but this could be smart, because they may be keeping Ollie Watkins and Sesko really hot in regards to, in case they miss out on one. So if they miss out on one, they're already working on the other one, if you know what I mean. And this is something that we haven't done in the past. We haven't done it with other players in the past, and we've missed out on players, of course, and ended up going into the season short. I don't mind them going for 2 strikers. I actually don't mind, because at the end of the day, it's very, very close between Sesko and Ollie Watkins. It's not like miles apart. It's not like there's, Calvert-Lewin and Sesko. It is obviously Ollie Watkins and Sesko, which are very good players. So one thing I would say is that, look, you know what, having 2 players going head to head in regards to what player we want is good, because if we miss out on Sesko, we're going to get Ollie Watkins. We miss out on Ollie Watkins, we're going to get Sesko. And I think that's a good thing at the end of the day. It's something that we should have been practicing time and time again with our various other positions. I still believe we need to do more. I still believe we needed a midfielder and a defender and a right wing back and a goalkeeper. But there you go, guys. Sesko and Ollie Watkins. If we get one of them, I mean, I'll be happy. Wouldn't you be happy? Guys, we have to ask ourselves the question, and I've said this a couple of times over the last couple of days, before the end of the window, if we had Cunha, Mbeumo, Sesko or Watkins, would you be happy with that? If someone told you that was going to be the front line at the start of next season, if someone told you that, would you be happy with that? And that is, I suppose, the biggest question we have to ask ourselves. I would be honest with you guys. If I saw Mbeumo, Cunha and Sesko, I'd be content. I'd be like, it's not too bad, to be honest with you. If I saw Cunha, Mbeumo and Ollie Watkins, I'd be like, well, Ollie Watkins proven to score goals. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be like, oh my God, that is terrible. We can't have that. That's absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't be like that. But at the end of the day, you know what? I think that at Man United, where Man United are right now, we have to be very smart in the way we do our business. I'm very disappointed. And one of the biggest things I'm disappointed about Manchester United over this last window is that we haven't been scouting as effectively as we should. There are players around the world. It's not, I mean, football is not just Europe. There are players around the world that we could have got. And if you did want to just base yourself around European competition, why are we not looking in the likes of Norway, Sweden, Ukraine, Serbia, all these countries that we used to scout quite a lot in, Denmark, you know, Holland? Why are we not doing that at the end of the day? And this is what one thing I stress that I get very disillusioned about Manchester United, of course, guys, absolutely. Now, obviously, we're getting the young players in. If there's a young player out there, Man United are very good at doing that, i.e. Emston James, who signed for Man United, of course, this week. So, you know, those sort of things we're very good at, the young, unknown quantity. But I'm talking about players that play in other leagues consistently for their clubs, you know, a bit like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did, or Ronnie Johnson did, or Henning Berg did, you know what I mean? These kind of things that we used to do, because we used to look at players like Ronnie Johnson, for example, and no one would know who Ronnie Johnson was, but we would sign Ronnie Johnson and it'd be like, this guy's good. Where do you get him from? Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, and these days we don't do that. We don't scout enough in Scandinavia. We used to scout a lot in Scandinavia, to be fair, and we were very good at it. And we, in particular, defenders. We used to bring defenders from there. So, look, one thing I would say is that I'm very disappointed in regards to the transfer window overall. I don't think we've utilized the transfer window as well as we should have. And you know what? They've got a lot of work to do, and literally like two and a half weeks to the season starts. Of course, guys. Buongiorno, Hell Junior. What's going on, my friend? I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Hope you're well. The funniest thing on Twitter right now are the top reds who don't think we need a striker anymore because Rasmus made one fun. Mate, Helge. Look, I would say it like this, Helge. Look, these people don't understand. Like when you go to the court of law, Helge, right? And they put Man United onto the how do you say it? Onto the stage. They say, here's Manchester United. And the judge says to Manchester United, what was your biggest problem last season, right? What was your biggest problem for the last 2 seasons? Obviously, the overriding evidence is that Manchester United's biggest problem is scoring goals. It's scoring goals. You can get by with goal scoring. You can have certain parts of the team that are not quite up to scratch with goal scoring. Let me tell you that right now. If you have a potent attack, it obviously forces the opposition team to sit back, to be more afraid, to be anxious, to be indecisive. And that obviously creates chances and goals and penalties and things like that. Now, I remember one when I used to sit behind the Stretford end. I used to sit on the front row of the Stretford end. And I remember Man United in their heyday, because I was the front row behind the goal. And I remember the way we used to play. We were really, really quick. And every time we get that ball, it's like, it's gone. And you just need a little clip on your leg to go down in the box. You know what I mean? And it's a penalty. And that's what it is. And that's what I used to explain to Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans. Oh, you shouldn't have got that penalty. And I used to tell them, I was right there. I saw it with my own eyes. He clipped him. You may not see it because it's so quick, but he clipped him. And when you're running quickly, you know what? You're liable to get fouls and you're liable to get penalty kicks and free kicks and stuff like that. That is positive football. And that is attacking football. You don't worry about what happens in the defense, in the midfield. If you've got a potent attack, my goodness me, a lot can happen and a lot can change. How many times last season was it 0-0 held between, like, you know, in the game? It's 77 minutes. And me and you would sit here and say, you know what, we're going to lose this 1-0. How many times did we say that? And it happened. You know, whether it was an Onana clanger, you know, whether it was a free kick, whether it's something like we predicted that we're going to lose 1-0. We would dominate the game possessionally, but we would be toothless up front. How many times did we say we're toothless? We're toothless. How many times did we say that last season? And a big part of being toothless last season was obviously Rasmus Højlund. We were very toothless last season because we had a player like Rasmus Højlund up front who couldn't hit a barge pole at the end. And look, people would say, oh, but you know what, Cunha and Mbeumo, that is part of it. Cunha and Mbeumo would help Rasmus Højlund. Of course, he's going to help Rasmus Højlund. But there are occasions when strikers need to help themselves. They need to help themselves. And I don't think he can. Great strikers, like I said, time and time again, I've seen some great goals. I've seen Andy Cole hit a scissor kick from 35 yards live. Guys, out of nothing, out of the blue, twist, scissor kick, goal. 30 yards. You know, I've seen Gareth Cantona get that ball from midfield against Sunderland, pass it 1-2 and run the length of the pitch and lob Perez in goal. I've seen that. I've seen Ruud van Nistelrooy get that ball from midfield, take on the whole Fulham team and bury it in the corner. That's what strikers do. It's not just about having the ball to your feet. This is a very simplistic way of thinking about football. Great strikers, great attackers, make it happen. Whether you create a move, you get your player involved, let's do a move, let's move up the pitch, or you do something individually, which is absolutely world class. That is what Manchester United were known for. Mark Hughes. I'll take you back, guys. Wembley Stadium, 1994, Oldham Athletic, extra time, 1-0 to Oldham Athletic. Man United needed something urgently. Man United needed a goal. Otherwise, we're going out the FA Cup. And Oldham Athletic would go to the final to play Chelsea. What happened? The ball goes into the box, cleared away, back-headed into the box. Mark Hughes with an unbelievable volley into the back of the net. Was that to do with anyone else? If we had a striker like Rasmus, would he put that in the back of the net? Would he do that? Volley into the back of the net, a big volley, 20 yards, back of the net. It wouldn't happen, would it, at the end of the day? And this is the difference between having a great striker, the instinctive striker, that take it upon themselves to do things. You know what I mean? It's not only that. And I look at him and listen, this is not a charity here. There are players in League One, League Two, National League North, National League South, who would grasp at playing for Manchester United, who would love to play for Manchester United, who never got that opportunity to play for Manchester United. They never got that opportunity. But they could do a better job. Right now, I'll tell you that. You know, you got to understand who you are, right? And this is the one thing about Rasmus and who you're playing for. You know, we cannot say, all right, let's give him one more season, just one more season. Guys, he's going to be 23. You know what I mean? Come on. Like, you know, you got to start doing that. My opinion is I'm not throwing the towel in regards to Rasmus Højlund. I am not throwing the towel in regards to Rasmus Højlund. But all this business, lean back and if you're going to lean back into your defender, make sure you bully your defender. Make sure you bully him and don't fall on the floor flat on your backside. And that's what I would say. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. Now, I hope he comes good next season. I really do. And I hope that every single one of those players show up next season, because at the end of the day, if they show up, it's good for Manchester United. I have no affiliation with the players. I have affiliation with Manchester United at the end of the day, and that is what's most important. Big up, Helge. Where are the Sesko Watkins? What do you think are the pros and cons for each deal? Sesko, young going ceiling, maybe Watkins more of a safe bet. Watkins is a safe bet. There are loads of pros and cons in regards to that. Sesko, you've got the age. You've got the ability to get better. You've got nearly one goal in 2 games ratio at his age. You've got that. You've also got the height. You've also got the strength, and you've also got a player that, you know what, wants to prove himself and play. You know, and obviously what might be a lot more fitter, of course, at his age and quicker at his age. In regards to Watkins, there's a number of things that you could say. Obviously, the Premier League experience. You know, the nurturing of the young players, people don't mention. He can nurture the likes of Chido and Musa and stuff like that because of his age and his experience and things like that. So that thing doesn't get mentioned enough. His experience is obviously a big factor as well. You know, obviously the cons are Ollie Watkins' price and age. You know, and we can't be paying 60 million for Ollie Watkins at the end of the day. But that moves me swiftly on to another striker that Man United have been linked with over the last few months. Of course, it is Mr. Mitrovic. Now, Mitrovic is 30 years old. I know that, guys. But Mitrovic does represent a more affordable, maybe smarter move in the market. Now, I'm a big fan of Mitrovic, and I think out of Sesko, out of Ollie Watkins, Mitrovic probably would cause the most problems for opposition teams. Let me tell you that right now. When Mitrovic played for Fulham, it was absolutely fantastic. It was killing it. And I think he's an absolutely brilliant, underrated player. When he was playing for Fulham, I said, you know what? Mitrovic wouldn't be a bad move, you know. Signing Mitrovic wouldn't have been a bad move. I do firmly believe that, you know. And when he went to Saudi Arabia, I was a little bit disappointed because I thought that we could have done a move for him. I know he's 30, but obviously, like when you think about Mitrovic, you know, people are going to put their nose up at it and say, look, you know what? He's finished, this and that. That guy reminds me of a Tevez. That guy reminds me of a Tevez. That guy's got that ruthlessness, that never say die attitude, that winning to win, you know. And you know, I wouldn't be opposed to a move like that. I would much rather a Mitrovic, you know what I mean, than bringing in a Calvert-Lewin or something like that, you know. So I forgot about Mitrovic recently, but it has been brought to light over the last 24 hours that Manchester United are aware of Mitrovic and aware of his situation. Of course, there are other Premier League clubs who are also interested in Mitrovic, you know. It's if I was a manager of any Premier League club right now, I would look at Mitrovic. I would look at even Tony. These are the players that we need to be looking at Even Tony doesn't become a bad player because he played in Saudi Arabia. Even Tony is still one of England's best strikers, right? Even Tony is a calculated, strong, calm player that should be playing in the Premier League. And he should be playing for a club like Manchester United. Why are we not going after even Tony? Why are we not after him? Man United are aware of Mitrovic. Man United are aware of Mitrovic's situation. Mitrovic wants to come back to Europe. Why don't Man United make that move? They're going to get him for a good price, you know, and probably can negotiate the wage. Tony as well. These players are shrewd, clever buys, guys. Shrewd, clever buys. They are clever. And the thing is, this is what Man United need to do. This is why Man United are being very tunnel visioned at the moment. Ollie Watkins or Sesko, and that's it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we should be scoping our choices around Europe and around the world, not just tunnel visioned in what we want. And this is what we want. And this is all we're going to get at the end of the day. Big up Sanjay. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, of course. And big up Chris. Greetings from Thailand, Chris. Big up Chris. How you do? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, fella. Good to see you, of course. Big up Benny. What's going on, mate? Hope you're well. Good to see you. Big up Randall, as usual. You legend, of course, guys. And Helge. As you know, I'd rather have Mateta, Mitrovic, Vlahovic. Exactly, mate. We speak the same, but it seems like it's down to either Sesko or Watkins. I see pros and cons with both ones, so I'm not like, wow, no matter what we say. He's exactly held. You're on the same boat as me. You're on the same boat as me. I'm not like, oh, well, I exclusively want Sesko. I exclusively want Ollie Watkins. I'm not in that position at the moment to be like that, of course, guys. But what I would say is that you're absolutely spot on about Mateta, Mitrovic, and even Tony. Even Tony, Ivan Tony, even Tony, even him, you know, I would say that, you know, is very, very interesting to see that why we haven't gone after these players like tooth and nail for these players, because at the end of the day, the Premier League experience, they're proven to score goals, they're gonna be affordable. So why don't we go after them? Why are we just looking at Ollie Watkins, Sesko? Why are we doing that at the end of the day? We need to be scoping our radar a little bit more 360 rather than just 2D, you know, and straightforward middle down the line. And that's one thing I'll say, Helge, and you're absolutely right. You know, there are strikers out there. There are strikers out there. We're just not finding them. We just don't want to find them. You know, I don't want Man United to be going into this preseason thinking, oh, yeah, but he's gone to Saudi Arabia. Tony got called up to the England squad playing in Saudi Arabia. It doesn't matter. They called up Henderson for the England, you know, when he was playing in Saudi Arabia. So at the end of the day, look, you know, as you saw for the World Cup Championship, the Saudi teams are not that bad, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, and they were better than the American Miami's and stuff like that, you know. So what I would say is this, right? If Man United signed would I prefer Sesko or Ollie Watkins or Mitrovic and Tony? Here it is. If someone said to me now, Sesko, Mitrovic, Sesko, Ollie Watkins, or Mitrovic, Tony, guys, and I want you to be totally honest, I would go Mitrovic or Tony, and that is a fact. Sesko or Watkins, Mitrovic or Tony. There you go, guys. Now, look, I'm going to do a poll, guys. Let me do a poll on this one. I've got to do a poll on this one. We have to do a poll on this one, guys. Let me do it because you know what? This is going to cause divide, of course, guys. So I'm going to. I mean, I don't want it to cause divide. Of course, I don't want it to cause divide, but it's going to cause debate, of course, guys. So I want to do this really quickly, guys. Let me write this up. The poll is choice between. So I'm going to do it like this, okay? Choice between Sesko, here we go, Sesko and Watkins, or Mitrovic and Tony, even Tony. So Sesko and Watkins, or Mitrovic and Tony. Now, guys, be smart on this one, all right? Be smart on this. Be smart on it. Think about it. Which players are going to make an impact for Manchester United, okay? So I've written a poll there. Get involved, guys. Get involved. I've written a poll there. So, yeah. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think, guys. Good morning, Randy. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Big up, Grayo. What's going on, you legend? Hope you're doing well. Morning, bro. Hope you're well. Morning, everyone. Please, everyone, can you smash the like buttons, guys? Please don't forget to smash the like. Please don't forget to subscribe, guys. We want to get to 20,000 subscribers by Christmas. That's where we want to get. We're on 12,000 subscribers, and thank you, everyone. You're absolutely fantastic people. Of course, Chris, we could get Pope and Lamens to upgrade what we have. We can't get any worse, to be honest. I agree with you, Chris. The biggest problem that we're going to have, Chris, is that whether Onana wants to leave the football club, Onana could quite easily dig his heels in and say, look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm contracted to Manchester United. I'm not going anywhere. That's the biggest problem that we're going to have. And as we know about Ineos, of course, they see players as assets, as pound signs, basically. And are they gonna allow a player like Onana to sit in the reserves or sit on the bench and stuff like that? And that's the thing. We really do have to sell Onana and buy in there, to be fair. We have to sell both of those players. And you know what? Hopefully we can get some movements in regards to that, because it's worrying that Onana is on the preseason tour. And, it does look like, he's going to be starting the season against Arsenal, which I didn't want, to be fair, but it is what it is. We have to do what we have to do. But I agree with you, Chris. Lamens and Pope would be absolutely fantastic, to be honest with you. Even if we signed one and we like Lamens and we get Lamens and we drift Lamens into the first team, it would be good. It's just that are Man United really, really dedicated to replacing this goalkeeper? Are they really passionate about replacing the goalkeeper? And that's what I would say. Because at the moment, it looks a little bit lethargic in regards to how we are. Of course. Big up Fergatov. I like Pope all day. If we could get a striker midfielder as well, Pope is a very good keeper, in my opinion. I agree, Fergatov. One thing we need, Fergatov, we don't need much. We don't ask for much. And you know what? One thing it is that he's a competent goalkeeper. What Manchester United need is a competent goalkeeper. Someone who's not going to put you in the doges when the going gets tough. Someone who's not going to cost you a game 9 times out of 10. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I would say at the end of the day. And I would happily do that if Man United got a striker and a midfielder and even a right wing back, to be fair. Good morning, Tybog. How you doing, you legend? I hope you're doing well. Really good to see you, my friend. I hope you're blessed. Good to see you, of course. And big up Asif. How you doing, my friend? I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Helge, I like Pope, but I worry we will get in a situation where the media will never let us bench him for any other goalkeeper. So let's say we buy a new next summer. The media will rinse the new keepers every move. You know what I would say, Helge? Everyone knows what my favourite goalkeepers are. There's 2 goalkeepers, Donnarumma and Lamens. Those are my 2 favourite goalkeepers. And I've said this for months, guys. And before it was popular to say Lamens, you know what I mean? You know what? People didn't know what Lamens was a few months ago. They thought Lamens was a lemon, a type of lemons. Who's Lemons? The only lemon is the goalkeeper we got at the moment, which is Onana, of course. But, one thing I would say is that, look, before it was popular, I was saying sending Lamens. And you know what? I like sending Lamens. I've been watching Lamens, you know what I mean, like a hawk at the end of the day. And I think that Lamens is going to be a generational talent. Absolutely. He's going to be one of the next big goalkeepers to come out the ranks, of course. So I when I see him, I see Courtois, I see Petr Cech when I see him, guys. Absolutely. So, look, you know what? But either way, if when Man United managed to get a competent goalkeeper in the between the sticks, I would be delighted, because at the end of the day, last season it was a lot of anxiety, a lot of nervousness, a lot of indecisiveness, and you know what, a lot of mistakes, and we can't be doing that going into next season, of course, Helge, of course. Randy, we are so poor we can't even afford free agents. We're not poor, we just refuse to spend. Did it with Maguire, De Ligt. We see it every time. The media love to talk shit and make negative narratives on foreign players taking English players' place. I'd rather have Lamens, but I like Pope. What you have to understand is this, Helge, and I'm English, right? So let's bring out the English from it. English football. We support an English football team, okay? So let's keep that real, right? In regards to English, my mother's English, everything like that. So no English, no xenophobia on here, okay? So one thing I would say, it's not only about English. It's not. They get favoritism. That's true. But what I would say is this, right? If you were in Spain, if you were in France, if you were in Portugal, if you were in Italy, they will do the same with their national players. With their national players, they'll do the same thing. This is a normal thing. This happens in Norway. This happens in France. This happens in Spain. This happens in Italy. This happens in Portugal. They're going to favor the countrymen. It's just like Ruben Amorim favors Bruno Fernandes and the Dalot. He favors Bruno Fernandes and Dalot because they're Portuguese. And don't tell me any other reason. Alex Ferguson favored Darren Fletcher because he was Scottish and played Darren Fletcher again and again and again because he's Scottish. This happens. And this is something we have to accept, De Ligt and Maguire are not like night and day. They're not like wild apart. They're quite similar. They're not like amazing. De Ligt's better, yeah? He's better player, but they're not like miles apart in regards to that. And obviously, Maguire came out last season, and Maguire did pretty well and saved us a couple of times, didn't he? Maguire's not the problem. Even though he shouldn't be playing for Man United anymore, Maguire is not the problem. At the end of the day, Maguire scored, has got us to the Champions, got us to Europa League, you know what I mean? Next round and stuff. Scored a couple of important goals. The most important problem at Man United is the players that are currently playing, who are deemed untouchable players, in my opinion. Benny, to be honest, any goalkeeper would be an upgrade on Onana. Absolutely, Benny, I agree. 9 errors leading to goals. We were lucky. And you know what I would say, Chris? A lot of those errors that they have been calculated, they don't count some things. Like, i.e., for example, palming the ball onto the post that goes to the opposition player to tap it in. Or your positioning in the goal, which is way to the left when it should be more to the right. You know, or a shot comes in and you palm it to the opposition player and he taps it in. It doesn't count that. That's one thing about it. And how many times has that happened? Where he should have palmed it over the bar, but he palmed it onto the bar and it went to the opposition player. Or a shot come in and he palmed it straight to the opposition player. Or he's standing far on the left and the opposition player just curls it into the corner where the big gap is, a gaping gap is. It doesn't count that as well. Do you know what I mean? We were lucky the times he pushed the ball straight to the attackers. They missed these ridiculously massive liabilities. 100%. Exactly. You know what I'm talking about, Chris. Absolutely, mate. I didn't even read that next bit, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Absolutely. Big up, Asif. The point is, United money to go for number 9. Who it would be is a mystery. Whoever it would be, Amram will go with it based on his choice against Amram. It's not Amram's choice, Asif. Amram wants a proven Premier League goal scorer. The reason we're going for Sesko is because of Christopher Favel. And there is a little bit of conflict in there, and it's not primarily down to Amram anymore. Just like it was with Eric Ten Hag, it was all down to Eric Ten Hag. It's not down to Amram anymore. Favel, Wilcox, and Berardi are the ones making the choices here. So they're the ones who are going to be put on this pedestal of you are to blame, and that's it. Yes, Amram gets a say. He gets a say, but his say is not the gospel. His say is not the be-all and end-all. Ruben Amram openly wants a proven Premier League goal scorer. You know. By the way, obviously, Mbeumo played with Ollie Watkins. Let's not forget that. They both played with each other at Brentford. Guys, those who the longer memories, they both played with each other at Brentford, and it was a good partnership back then. And obviously, Mbeumo has been talking on very, very glowing terms about Ollie Watkins, saying that he's likened him to Mohamed Salah and things like that, of course, which is very interesting. Big up, Coco. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Crazy pal. The paid staff of experts can't see that there is a direct correlation with slow, poor transfer windows and declining performance. Absolutely. There you go. Big up, Coco. Coming out with a new one today. Big up, Onana. Onana is a clown. I mean, let's not get into that. I did call him a lemon, though. Jale, I would not mind letting Sesko go to Newcastle. We take Watkins 2 years later. We can go and get Sesko for Newcastle, like how Liverpool would do with Isaac if he is success. I don't mind letting Sesko go to Newcastle. Yeah, but if Sesko goes to Newcastle, scores about 30 goals, he's not going to be worth 60 million, is he? He's going to be worth a lot more than that. Done and dusted. Onana will keep us out of the Champions League. Can be gone in a few weeks, hopefully. Big up, done and dusted. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're blessed. Luke Shaw, Manchester United will win the league. Yeah, I heard that. I saw that. Guys, you know what? I woke up this morning, okay? Wiped the sleep from my eyes. I did. I went like this, and I was like this, right? And I thought, what did he say? What did he say? Mate, you need to get fit, mate, before you say anything about we're going to win the league. I don't want to hear any of that, guys. I like the confidence. I admire the confidence. That's good. It's good to have that kind of confidence because Man United should be challenging for the league. But you know what? We can win the league. Yeah, we can. I think we can win the league. I firmly believe we can. Why can't we win the league? Because of you, people like you. That's why we can't win the league. Because you're not fit 90% of the games. Because you're not dedicated to Manchester United. You're more interested in England. That's why we don't win the league. You know, and that's the problem, isn't it? At the end of the day, I could say, "Oh, Man United, I'm going to be a Man United player next year." I could say that anyone can say whatever they want at the end of the day, you know. But proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the pudding. Go out, show it. You can do it. Don't talk about it. Be about it. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Chris, Let's be honest, our front line with either Watkins or Sesko would be much more improvement on last season's. It's unreal. Give me any of them and let's kick ass. Absolutely, Chris, I agree with you. The saving grace to this is that, you know what, I mean, we can't be snobby and turning our nose up at any of those players, because at the end of the day, they're going to be an upgrade, isn't it? And we're in no position to say, oh, Laddie don't want that player, I want that player. We can't be like that right now, because at the end of the day, as I said, we're in no position, and we should be happy that players are willing to still sign for us, and we still have that aura around us that players do want to sign for Manchester United, because that aura is not going to last forever if we carry on like this, isn't it? If we carry on with this 15th, 10th, 8th, 6th, this, we're not going to have that aura anymore. You know, legacy only lasts so long, a bit like Everton and a bit like, you know, let's say Preston North End. You know, when you have success, right, it goes through the generations, and generations will know about Man United's success. Right now, Man United's success is very distant away. So generations are coming in, not remembering Manchester United's success. There are a few people whose dads, whose mothers, who's, you know, who supported Manchester United. So they inform them about what Man United are, the history of Man United, etc., etc., etc. Like Lenny Yora's family did, for example. And in Bumo, his family probably did as well. But that is only going to last so long. So the more Man United flatter to deceive and come low in the league and not winning, challenging for league titles, winning Champions Leagues, people are not going to remember when Man United was successful back in the day. And there's going to be no one to tell them who Man United are eventually. You know, so any player coming to Manchester United right now who could possibly help Man United get to where we want to be is, you know what, fantastic. I remember back, I mean, obviously 98, 99, as I said yesterday, Chris, I said it about Dwight York. I said that back then I was like, Dwight York, do I really want Dwight York? Dwight York. I was more like Patrick Kluivert, Gabriel Batistuta. I was more like that, you know what I mean? And I was obviously, you know, but Dwight York signed for Man United, Premier League proven, was not my first choice, but end up, we all know what happened, didn't it? Probably one of the players of the season. Absolutely fantastic. Was a link man, was good. And you know what? Just because it's not a flashy, sensational signing, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it doesn't mean it's not going to work. And I appreciate any player that comes to Man United during this period, of course. Big up, Chris. Good to see you, mate. Manchester United fighters, freedom fighters, injured fighters, bankrupt fighters. Absolutely. Big up, Mickey. Good one. Big up, my friend. Hope you're doing well, of course. So who cares if we are into the Champions League or with Watkins nowadays? Champions League perks on the next level. But personally, Sesko more appealing to me. Haaland, Isaac, and Salah turned in tits in the Premier League. Sesko is more appealing to a lot of people, and the reason Sesko is more appealing is because obviously he represents not only what his age. I mean, it does represent more of a Manchester United type of signing, in my opinion. He is only 22 years old, and he can become better, you know. And there is, you know, a lot of interest around Sesko, and I've been interested in Sesko for the last 2 years. But that's not to say that we turn our nose up with Watkins. If we get Watkins, if Sesko doesn't come to Man United and Newcastle bid for Sesko and we're getting the run around and the price is going like this, there's only one way we're going to go, isn't it? Because as soon as the price starts raising, Man United are going to pull out of that deal, unfortunately. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So what I would say is that if Man United sign a striker like that, that'd be great. My biggest argument is that why Man United looking at even Tony? This is what I mean about ball knowledge. They're not looking at even Tony. They're not looking at Mitrovic. Why they're not looking at those sort of players who can make a big difference in the Premier League, of course. Helge knows. I'm very 50-50 with Watkins and Sesko. I see both sides. Sell-on value is valid if he does good, which isn't sure case. I feel he has a higher ceiling, but maybe I'm just sure about what. Maybe I'm more sure about. It's about being sure. At the end of the day, this is what I'm talking about, Helge, isn't it? It's not like it's not like miles apart. It's not like no. It's 100% Watkins or it's 100% Sesko. It's nothing like that. You know what I mean? It is very close. You know, we are very close into what we want. And if Man United sign any of those players, I'm not going to be snobby. I'm not going to say this. I will support those players. My biggest bode, Helginho, is why are Man United not looking further afield? Why are we not going after Tony and Mitrovic? That's my biggest thing. And I don't want people to throw the gambling thing at me, guys. Every player has their demons. Every single player does. We have had many players over the past, in the last 20, 30 years, who've had demons in the closets, guys. Really have. So I don't want to hear anything about that. Chris, Helge, so totally agree. I would take any of them, be very happy. Both would be a massive upgrade. Absolutely, Chris. Absolutely, Helge. Bro, the logic of signing is simple. We don't have the luxury of experimenting in buying players to the first team, which is why they are buying from the league. And we finish 15th, no experiment buying. At the end of the day, why are we after Sesko then? If there's no experiment buying, that's my biggest argument at the end of the day. Sesko represent a risk. So does Ollie Watkins represent a risk. If Ollie Watkins walks into the Man United football team and gets injured, what's the risk? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, that could possibly happen. Every single player represents a risk. Everyone. We obviously, there are more risks than other risks. There's obviously levels to risks, isn't there? Sesko is a risk. I know with Sesko, I've said it many times on this channel. Sesko will represent a risk, 13 goals and 33 appearances and stuff like that. He would represent quite a hefty risk, if we're being honest with you. But it's not to say that I'm going to turn my nose up at Sesko or Ollie Watkins, because I feel like if Man United signed any of those players, mate, I'll be quite content, to be honest with you. As I've said many times, I just want a competent striker up there. Whether it's Sesko, whether it's Ollie Watkins, whether it's Mitrovic, whether it's Tony, even Tony. Even Tony and Mitrovic wouldn't represent a risk, would it? You know? They've been there, done it, seen it, worn the t-shirt, you know? Dabizaz, well, considering we have no Europe this season, we have one match per week. Sesko seems the best bet to build a team around next season. Watkins would be a priority if we had more matches. Wouldn't it be great, Dabizaz, if Man United could sign both? Because at the end of the day, you cannot substitute strikers. Basically, you can substitute strikers. What I mean is, there is no substitute for having strikers. There's no substitute for having more than one striker. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's what I would say. I think it could possibly go up, guys. I think it could possibly go up. Guys, wait for me. I've got a delivery. Let me go and get my delivery. 1 second. Thanks, guys, for I had to pick up that delivery. Really, thank you, guys. You're absolute legends for joining. Sorry, Hesty. If we don't get Sesko, do you think Watkins' price will go up? You know what I would say, Hesty. As I said, it will go up, and I think that Aston Villa are going to be digging their heels in. The biggest problem is, of course, let me bring my friend here, my microphone. The biggest problem is that Aston Villa do not want to sell to Manchester United, and why would they? We're a Premier League club, we're a rival Premier League club. Why would they want to sell to Manchester United at the end of the day? And they can easily dig their heels in. They can easily say, look, you know what? You're Manchester United, you're a challenger for the top 5 positions. We don't want to sell you. We don't want to sell you Ollie Watkins. Just like I don't want to sell Chelsea Garnacho and things like that, because I know that Garnacho signing, etc., is going to bite us, slap us straight on the face at the end of the day. Helge, even though we might not sell on Valor for Watkins, I think if we get him for 50 million, comes in, stabilizes the ship, needs acclimatation, 2 or 3 seasons with 15 goals, feels very safe in my opinion. If he does that, yeah, of course. If he does that, Man United are obviously a toxic mess. If he comes in and it doesn't work, then people are going to say, oh, we should have signed Sesko. But if Sesko goes to another club like Newcastle and scores 30 goals in a season, and he's young and his price goes up, then we're going to say, oops. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it is a catch-22. My opinion, I would go for Sesko because of his sell-on value, because he's a good player. He scored 1 in 2, internationally and at Salzburg and at Leipzig. So my thing will be Sesko. Now, people are not thinking about this, though. In an argument for Ollie Watkins, people are not really thinking about the fact that Ollie Watkins and Mbeumo play together. You know, they play together, of course. Big up, GK. What's going on? We need to bid for Sesko deal to happen because Sesko wants United. Yes, he would like United. But obviously, Vavel is a big part to play in this, obviously, whole Sesko saga. As I posted up yesterday, a picture yesterday, of course, I did post this up yesterday. Guys, I'm going to show you now. Sesko and Christopher Vavel are very, very close companions, of course. They know each other pretty well. This is a big reason why Sesko would love to come to Manchester United, because obviously he's got people he knows at Man United, which, as people wanna deny it, it does make a huge difference when you know people, guys. Absolutely, it really does. And you know what? And moving to a new country, a new club, and stuff of that nature, of course, guys. Absolutely. I take a calm take. Absolutely. I agree with you, Helge. I'm calm, mate. I am calm. You know what I mean? I may not seem it, but I'm very calm. I'll take either as well, mate. Absolutely. Revert 7, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Our attacking play was relentless under Fergie. We need that again. Goals change games. We need goals. Good morning, sir. Revert 7, you said it as it is. Goals change games. How many times just last season? How many times did we sit here, 0-0, 70 minutes, thinking, where's this goal going to come from? Where are we going to get a goal from? You know, when we played against Tottenham, if we had a bloody proper attacking lineup, we would have beaten Tottenham. And right now, we'd be sitting there in the Champions League, right? That's what it would be, isn't it? You know, but unfortunately, we didn't, did we? Good morning, Saviour. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good morning. How are you? We need all the players we want to sign before the league starts. A striker, Sesko, or Watkins, midfielder, and a goalkeeper. Saviour, do you know what? Yeah, that would be a dream, my friend. That would be a dream. If Man United can get those players in, like you said, a goalkeeper, midfielder, and a striker, it would be an absolute dream. How likely is that to happen, though? Very unlikely, I would say, Saviour, the way we're doing deals at the moment. Remember, we took 50 days to get the Mbeumo deal over the line, you know, so getting a goalkeeper, a midfielder, and a striker in, and getting players out as well, it's going to be pretty difficult for this ownership, this little membership party, whatever you want to call it, to get going and to do it quickly, in my opinion. Big up, Kemily. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Højlund lacks confidence in shot taking. And what I would say, Kemily, right, if you do not have the guts, the courage, the drive, the ambition to play for Manchester United, if you let confidence kill you, which he is doing, right? And let's not forget, Andy Cole had barren spells, right? Every player that has played for Man United has had barren spells, have had bad spells. Even Ruud van Nistelrooy had bad spells. But the character of a Manchester United player, and this is what I'm talking about, the character, something we have lacked for so long. We signed a player from Scandinavia many years ago. His name was Erik Nevland. Erik Nevland was a highly talented player, very talented. People are calling him like the new Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and stuff like that, but just couldn't do it. Sometimes you can have all the talent in the world, but you just can't do it at Manchester United, because Manchester United is a completely different kettle of fish, basically. You know, and with confidence, we can allow you for a season, 2 seasons. But when it starts to get to 3 or 4 seasons, guys, that's when it starts to get like, oh, come on, man. And we were doing that last season, to be honest. And everyone knows me in this stream. Everyone knows what I was doing last season. Everyone knows I was backing Rasmus. Come on, Rasmus. Come on, Rasmus. Everyone knows what I was doing. But there comes a time when you have to say, mate, come on, man. This Man United, not Shrewsbury Town. You know what I mean? We got to get this going. We're not scoring goals. And minus goal difference. We need you, mate. At the end of the day, if you're in the trenches, right, and you've got a weak link in the trenches, and that trench, that one person could cause all your army to be destroyed, what would you do? You know, that's the thing. Revert 7. I hope Sesko won't be another Rasmus. If we get him, he needs to hit the ground running. No more than 2 years settling down, period. I agree. Look, I'm not going to paint him with the same brush. Sesko's a completely different player, by the way, to Rasmus Højlund. Completely. Risks are the same. I understand that. But let me tell you something about Sesko as opposed to Rasmus Højlund. Sesko has an almost 1 in 2 goal scoring record in his career, right? You're looking at Salzburg. You're looking at Leipzig. You're looking at, you know, Slovenia, right? He has a 1 in 2 goal ratio, basically, almost, right? When you look at his overall ratio in regards to goal scoring. When you look at Rasmus Højlund, You look at Atalanta, he scored about 10 goals. You know, you look at Denmark, he's not really prolific. He's not prolific at Man United. So I can't say that he's even near Sesko in regards to goal scoring. Now, as I said before, what would happen if Rasmus Højlund played in Germany? But we have to go by the facts here. We have to go by the stats here. You know, Man United are a different kettle of fish. Man United are a bigger animal. And it is unfair on Rasmus that he was thrown into the deep end, you know, with an astronomical price tag, which shouldn't have been the price tag, by the way. It is unfair on him. And I absolutely sympathize with him in regards to that. But when we're looking at Sesko, for Salzburg and for Leipzig, he's got almost a 1 in 2 goal scoring record, and he's 22. You know, so you got to look at that. Like, say, well, he has proven to score goals. Because at the end of the day, the goal is the same size wherever you go. And that is one thing about strikers. You put the ball in the net. If there's a striker playing in Tahiti, for example, and he's scoring 70 goals a season, I would look at that player. Because at the end of the day, finishing is finishing. You know, at the end of the day, and someone who could put the ball in the back of the net is a predator in front of goal. I would look at that striker because at the end of the day, strikers, you know, put that ball in the same little goal that everyone else does. You know, at the same size. You know what I mean, on the same pitches, and that's what I would say, guys. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kamali. Let's go. Revert 7. Good to see you, Kamali. But he's a good striker with better players. Good strikers play regardless what better players you've got, mate. I say that right now. I could bring you to many players over the years that are good strikers, great strikers, playing in poor teams that have still scored goals. I can tell you right now. I'll go down to the Championship, League 1, League 2, and I'll show you good strikers in poor teams that score goals. Great strikers score goals regardless. They make it happen for themselves. You know, not just your teammates help sometimes. Don't get me wrong, they do. But you know what? Ultimately, you are the owner of your own destiny. You are the one who can make that difference. Like I said, Ruud van Nistelrooy picking the ball up from midfield, taking the whole team on, bending it in the corner. Eric Cantona getting that ball, 1-2 in the middle of the park, getting that ball, running the length of the pitch, lobbing Perez in goal. And that's what I'm talking about. Andy Cole, 35 yards, scissor kick, goal. You know, this is what I'm talking about. It's not only about players making you better. Make yourself better. Make yourself better. Don't just rely on your teammates to do this, to do that. If they're not doing it, they're not passing you the ball, make something happen. If someone closes the door in your face, build your own door. That's what I always say. Big up Reds, of course. Where I got that from is my artist, of course. Guys, saw the Halal player in the picture. First of all, United need Marcus Leonardo. Big up, Roy. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Good point. Sal, last season was the only good ball holding, but in the last game where I noticed Rasmus going deep, making runs in areas, hitting the bar from a distance, sending the defender to East Ham. Goodness me. Rasmus, to be honest with you, in that game was null and void, to be honest with you. It was a poor game, if I'm being honest with you. Very poor game. A game I like to forget, Acid, because it was an embarrassing game. The Tottenham game is the most embarrassing game I've been supporting Man United since the late 80s, Acid, you know, and I look at that game, a very weak Tottenham team, one of the worst Tottenham teams I've actually seen in years. And what we did there, toothless, pathetic performance from all of them. And it was embarrassing. Good morning, Roy. How you doing? I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Saw an interview with Shaw yesterday. Yeah, he said the squad is good enough to win the Premier League. Obviously ridiculous, but it still made me think. We do have a lot of untapped potential. Helge, he's absolutely right. And I'll tell you why he's right. Because football doesn't deal with absolutes. Man United have a talented team. The problem is the key team there. It's the word team. Man United don't have a team. Man United have a good individual players. Now, you think, when you scroll back, Helge, to the days of Alex Ferguson, right, if you can remember, do you think that some of those players were the best players in the world? Do you think that John O'Shea was better than, for example, Ian Hart, or, for example, Lucas Radebe, or Tony Adams, or Martin Keown, or anything? Do you think he was better than them? Do you think that Tom Cleverley was better than, for example, Yaya Toure or anything like that? Do you think they were better players? No, they weren't better players. And I would argue, if anything, as a Man United fan of nearly 40 years, I would tell the truth. And I say Man United didn't necessarily have the best players in every position, which we didn't. Yes, we had the likes, some players who were the best, but we had some players who weren't the best as well. And what did we have, which was better than everyone else? What did we have? We had a team. And this is something that Manchester United have not had. Now, if Man United managed to create a team, manage to create everyone on the same page, a chemistry, so to speak, then I would say that Man United have a chance. Leicester City won the league. Now, at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, if you play as a team, and obviously football's about confidence as well. So if you play as a team and things are clicking, obviously you need luck. You don't need injuries and things like that. Luck plays a huge part, of course. This is why you need a squad. But, you know, if you play as a team and everything clicks, something can happen. These players are not bad players. De Ligt is not a bad player. You know, Yoro is not a bad. They're great players. Mazraoui, great player. You know, you got Dorgu, great player. You got Casemiro, you got Ugarte, you got Bruno, you got, you know, Mbeumo, you got Cunha, you got, you know, even you can talk about Rasmus and people like that. Do you know what I mean? They are not absolutely rubbish players. There's a lot of things that contribute towards a championship winning team and a championship challenging team and a team that finishes in the lower half of the table. One thing is confidence, and you know, another thing is working as a team. As I said, confidence comes from the top. When you're unconfident, when you've got a player like Rasmus Højlund, right, who's completely down in the dumps, he's completely in the mud in regards to his confidence, you need players who can inspire you. You need players to grab you by the scruff of the neck and say, come on, let's get this. You know, unfortunately, in this team now, we have a lack of inspiration. And that comes from the captain. That comes all the way down. The captain's not just solely responsible for his stats. The captain is solely responsible for the team, right? And when a player like Rasmus is struggling, right? And you've got team players all around the pitch that struggle. I want to see my captain not throwing his arms around. Your fault, your fault. I want to see my captain go into Rasmus Højlund. Come on, son. You got this. Come on. Do you know what I mean? I want to see that. I don't see that at Man United anymore. It's too much lovey-dovey, me, individualism. And that's what I'm talking about Man United at the end of the day. So Man United managed to eradicate this from their game and managed to become more of a team, managed to become more of a family, managed to become more of a unit, a chemistry monster. There is a chance that Man United could do big things. Isn't it? Because at the end of the day, when I'm hearing that from Luke Shaw, I'm seeing a player that is flattered to see for the last 10 years. I'm seeing a player that has got himself fit for England, but doesn't get himself fit for Man United. And when we've needed him, in the most worst times we've needed him, he's not there. You know, so it comes from everyone. Look in the mirror. And that's what I'll say to Man United players. Look in the mirror, right? And ask yourself, are you doing enough? Are you working as a team? Are you an inspiration to your team? Are you it? Are you that guy? Are you that guy to play for Manchester United and do what the greats done in the past? Because at the moment, all they're doing is standing on the shoulders of giants, pretending they're tall. And that's what I would say about that. Absolutely. And that is no offense to anyone. But if you want to be successful, you're going to have this mentality, sadly. Let's turn this off. Let me just read some of these. 1 second, guys. I want to get through everyone's comments today, guys. Big up everyone who's in the stream, though, guys. You're absolute legends, guys. You're absolute fantastic people, of course. And big up everyone who continues to support the channel. You're absolute diamonds, you legends. Don't forget you can become a member, by the way, guys. You love the channel. Please don't forget you can become a member as well, guys. I've got some great material coming for the membership videos as well, guys, as well. But one thing I will say is that I will be live tonight, this morning, for the game against Bournemouth. Guys, so don't forget to miss me for that. If you're gonna be, don't forget to not miss me for that. If you're gonna be up at that sort of time in the morning, let me know, because I will be here, guys, for you. And you know what time the game kicks off for me? It must kick off about 5:30 in the morning, and I will be here for it, guys, for you guys. Absolutely, of course I will, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, absolute legends. Big up Jamie, by the way. Haven't forgotten you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Absolutely good to see you, mate. And big up everyone who's supporting the show. Absolutely. And don't forget, I will be live later on for Chatterbox. And you know what? Keep your notifications on in case I go live for any news that comes up. Miraculously, any news that comes up, of course, guys. So don't worry, guys. Be happy. It's, you know what? We can just hope and have our fingers crossed. And hopefully, Man United get done what needs to be done at the end of the day. And what gets done is going to be done anyway, regardless of what we say, guys. But thank you for joining me. Have a great day. And I will see you later on for Chatterbox. Thank you, everyone, for your comments and your contribution to the show. Much love, guys. You're absolute legends. Take it easy. Peace.